There is a special kind of exhaustion that comes from being surrounded by people who do not think deeply, do not listen carefully, and do not question themselves at all. You try to stay patient. You explain things clearly. You give people the benefit of the doubt. And still, after enough of these encounters, something dark begins to grow inside you. Not just frustration, contempt, and then guilt for feeling it. Because part of you knows the real damage is not what these people are doing. It is what happens to you when you keep lowering yourself to meet them. Schopenhauer understood this better than most. He knew that one of the loneliest burdens of intelligence is not simply seeing more. It is having to live among people who often do not want truth, depth, or clarity. They want comfort. They want noise. They want agreement. And when a thoughtful person keeps trying to reason with the unreasonable, something subtle begins to break. You stop feeling like yourself. At first, it looks like irritation. You find yourself repeating obvious things, defending basic logic, explaining what should not need explanation, trying to be fair with people who are not interested in fairness, trying to be calm with people who are committed to confusion, trying to have a real conversation with people who only want victory, attention, or emotional release. It drains you in a way that is hard to explain, because the exhaustion is not just social, it is existential. You start to feel trapped inside a world where depth has no place. And if you stay in that world too long, you begin to adapt to it. That is where the deeper wound begins. Many intelligent people do not lose themselves through failure. They lose themselves through constant compromise, through endless exposure to what is shallow, chaotic, reactive, vulgar, and mentally lazy. Not because they become stupid, but because they begin living in reaction to stupidity. Their mind is no longer serving truth, it is serving defense, correction, restraint, containment. And over time, that changes a person. Schopenhauer believed that intellect is not just the ability to know more facts, it is the capacity to perceive more deeply, to see beneath appearances, to detect contradiction, to feel the unbearable weight of what is false. This is why foolishness can feel so violent to a thoughtful person, not because the other person is imperfect, everyone is imperfect, but because some people move through life with no inner discipline at all, no seriousness, no self-observation, no reverence for reality. They speak before thinking, judge before understanding, repeat what they have absorbed without ever examining it. And when you are forced to live among that for too long, you can begin to feel spiritually contaminated. You say less of what you really think. You simplify yourself to survive conversations. You start performing patience instead of feeling it. And worst of all, you begin giving your inner life to people who have done nothing to deserve access to it. That is the mistake. Schopenhauer was harsh, but he was not entirely wrong. He knew that arguing with fools rarely elevates the situation. More often, it pulls you downward. It invites you into a lower mode of being, one where your clarity becomes defensiveness, your dignity becomes agitation, your intelligence becomes wasted energy. And the tragedy is that many intelligent people secretly believe they have a duty to keep engaging, to keep correcting, to keep explaining, to keep trying, as if enough effort can awaken depth in someone who is deeply committed to avoiding it. But not every mind is open. Not every person wants understanding. Some want stimulation. Some want dominance. Some want the emotional thrill of conflict. Some want to drag every conversation down to a level where thought loses and impulse wins. And if you do not understand this, you will spend years burning yourself alive in the name of reason. This is where identity loss enters, because the thoughtful person often prides themselves on being measured, articulate, and fair. But constant contact with the foolish can make them reactive, bitter, and cold. They begin to speak in a voice that does not feel like theirs. They become sarcastic too quickly, tense too easily, dismissive before the other person has even finished speaking. Their nervous system changes. Their inner atmosphere changes. It is not just that they dislike what is around them. It is that they begin to resemble what they despise. That is the real danger. Not that fools will defeat you, but that they will deform you. Schopenhauer's answer was not endless tolerance. It was distance. He understood that peace is not found by winning every argument. It is found by refusing to enter contests that degrade the mind. He believed that solitude is often healthier than company that impoverishes you. And for many intelligent people, this feels deeply true. There are conversations that leave you tired but fuller, and there are conversations that leave you feeling emptied out, as if something in you has been mishandled. Not every interaction deserves your soul. This does not mean arrogance. It means discernment. There is a difference. Arrogance says, "I am better than everyone." Discernment says, "I must protect what is finest in me." That protection matters, because your attention is not a small thing. Your attention is your life. What you repeatedly engage with begins shaping your emotional tone, your standards, your language, even your sense of what is normal. If you constantly swim in pettiness, you begin to normalize pettiness. If you constantly explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding, you begin to doubt your own clarity. If you are always surrounded by noise, eventually silence starts to feel unnatural. And once silence feels unnatural, you lose access to the very place where intelligence becomes wisdom. So, how do intelligent people deal with idiots? Not by humiliating them, not by trying to dominate them, and not by sacrificing themselves on the altar of endless explanation. They learn to recognize the difference between ignorance and incapacity. Ignorance can learn. Vanity usually cannot. They stop assuming that every conflict is a misunderstanding. Some conflicts are revelations. They reveal who values truth and who only values being right. They learn to become harder to provoke, not because they feel nothing, but because they finally understand the price of giving their nervous system to chaos. They answer less, observe more, withdraw sooner, and they stop treating access to their mind as something everyone deserves. This is not cruelty, it is self-respect. In a deeper sense, it is also a form of maturity, because one of the last lessons many thoughtful people learn is that intelligence is not proved by how much foolishness you can tolerate. It is proved by how well you can remain inwardly intact in its presence, by how little of yourself you surrender to it, by whether you can leave an absurd situation without carrying its poison home in your chest. This is where the shift happens. You stop asking, "How do I defeat these people?" and begin asking, "How do I keep from becoming distorted by them?" That question changes everything. It brings you back to yourself, back to your standards, back to the quiet place inside where thought is still clean and unhurried. And maybe that is the real wisdom hidden beneath Schopenhauer's severity. not hatred of others, but protection of the inner life. Because once you have spent enough years around noise, aggression, shallowness, and needless stupidity, you begin to understand something simple and painful. Peace is not a luxury, it is a form of psychological survival. So when possible, step back, say less. Do not wrestle for dignity in places designed to erase it. Do not keep offering depth to those who only know how to trample it. And do not confuse constant engagement with strength. Sometimes the most intelligent thing a person can do is remain untouched, to keep their clarity, to keep their nervous system, to keep their soul from becoming coarse. Because the goal was never just to be right. The goal was to remain whole.